Good Tuesday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gilloway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports, live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is episode number 3 of our new podcast, Gazette Sports Chat, where we'll get to know participants from various realms of the high school sports world, the student athletes who play the games, the coaches who coach them, and others who contribute in different ways to the entire experience. I'll introduce tonight's guest in just a moment, as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors. They are Rickabaugh Electric, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Tonino's Pizza, The Tire Mart, Hoffman Ford, Ted's Bar and Grill, Modern Imprint, Sam Hartley Decking, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Hershey Abstract Settlement Services, Lingelstown American Legion Post 272, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate, Team PA AAU Basketball, and we'll save this one for last, Payor Apparel. Larry Bragg from Payor has T-shirts for everyone. Let's see if I can, right there, there's a brand new T-shirt for all of our guests. We thank you, Larry, for that. And we have a lot of sponsors, but we still are looking for sponsors for the upcoming 2024-2025 school year, along with student interns and others who may enjoy helping us cover high school sports. Upcoming, we have a show this coming Thursday, just two nights from tonight, on recruiting, transfers, and eligibility in high school sports. That should be interesting. We have a couple guests. Coach Aaron Blanding will be joining us, and along with Eric Thomas, media member Eric Thomas. Then on Tuesday, we have, we're going to call it Sibling Stars. And we're going to bring in Wayne Fletcher II and Kayla Fletcher. They are siblings, brother and sister, play their sports at a very high level, and great kids too. We look forward to meeting them or getting to know a little bit more about them. And then on 8/22, that's a Thursday, August 22nd, we're going to bring on Billy Splain from PA Football News and do some high school football preseason. So thank you for joining us, and let's talk about tonight's guests. They are 4 of the more prominent and recognizable local coaches and trainers in the Central PA youth sports community, who are here to discuss the development it takes for a student athlete to successfully transition from youth to high school sports. They are owner, president of Team PA AAU Basketball, Greg Cavoli. Greg, thank you for sponsoring us too for the last handful of years. We really appreciate that. So, Greg, welcome. Soccer Hall of Famer who's been involved in every aspect of soccer, of the sport, Coach Richard Chinapoo. Welcome, Coach. Owner-operator of the Road College Prep Academy, big-time high school and college basketball player too, Coach Corey Dickerson. And then former Division I college football player, I believe, University of Auburn and Alabama State.
Alabama State.
Right? Alabama State. And you Archie, besides being a friend of mine, we talked a week or so ago, and I kind of came up with this. I hatched this idea. You're the only one on the panel that at least is actively coaching and training in two different sports. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So welcome, everybody. I appreciate y'all joining us. And so it's football season for you, Archie, right?
Yes.
What do you do with the basketball piece when football season comes around?
I still dibble and dabble here and there, when I can, on the weekends, more on the weekend thing now versus everyday thing, because football is taking that place during that day. But I still try to, especially the guys that still shooting, playing football, that's still going to be playing basketball, still try to keep them, with the ball in their hand, keeping them active, getting shots up, because, after the football season up, they go right into basketball.
Right. So you're able to fit it all in, huh? I think when I first met you, you were just doing basketball, right? Maybe 8-10 years ago.
Correct.
Okay, I thought so. So you got.
But I was coaching football on the youth level then.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome. Really glad to have you, Coach Richard.
Joe,
Yes, sir.
I got an observation to make. As you were doing the introductions,
okay,
I realized that I'm the lowest ranked athlete on this screen on this podcast.
Yeah, but you look good, man. This is a handsome group, man. I'll tell
everybody
you.
here has played at the highest level, except me. So
I
appreciate
played
you
high
inviting
school
me.
ball, but I'm probably that the totem pole's kind of like this with you and me, Greg. So yeah, we have some very accomplished athletes here, besides Greg and myself. And some very accomplished kids too, children and grandchildren. I covered a lot of your kids over the last handful of years, and Coach Chinapoo, let me bring you in. You have a daughter and a granddaughter who are what, 1 year different in age?
Yes,
Is that correct?
that is
And
correct.
they both were on a state championship soccer team 2 years ago, which Greg's daughter also was. Now they're both off to college. Are you able to exhale just a little bit, knowing that they got like the bulk of maybe their career behind them now?
Um, you know, my daughter is, she was a freshman last year, and then obviously she's going to be a sophomore. But my granddaughter actually just headed off to
Right.
college yesterday. So, you guys will know what that transition from high school to going to college and being independent and having all these different influences around you. So that parenting thing has not stopped and will not stop for a while. They will go through growing pains. We hope they make the right decisions. We hope they're confident in themselves, but they have to go through their own experiences. But yeah, it's nice to not have a kid in the house after like 42 years.
I have a friend whose daughter plays PSAC soccer and said that Nia Chinapoo was a big problem for her team this year. Like, she played very well. She played at a really high level.
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody has, and these guys will know that every athlete brings something different to the table. So as a freshman, you have to go in there and you have to pay your dues.
Right.
You've heard that before. You pay your dues and you got to earn the respect of your teammates and the coach. And, hopefully that continues. She had a decent season and did well in the classroom. So that's all we can ask.
Good. That's awesome. And your granddaughter's off to an Ivy League college. That's spectacular, phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait until she reaches out to me and say, "Hey, Grandpa, how do I deal with this situation? How do I deal with that?"
So you can't exhale then, right? That's a no.
Right, you're right. So I mean, like, Corey, I had the opportunity to coach his daughters a little bit, and then Greg, and I haven't crossed Archie, but it's really about developing that person as an individual, to be confident in who you are, to be confident in your abilities. The normal thing you tell them, you have to work hard. It never stops. But fortunately, they're good in the classroom. They're good people. They're good kids. They enjoy life. They have friends. They smile. They laugh. But they work hard. And one of the things too is they enjoy what they do to have fun playing the game.
Right. So Corey, I'll bring you in. You have two daughters that are both multi-sport athletes, along with Greg too. What's it like having kids in the household that you have to kind of focus on more than one sport? I mean, and I think that I think at least Marley, to me, was kind of, she could have taken her choice of what sport she wanted to play. I think she played both soccer and basketball at such a high level. Am I right there?
Marley was a tremendous. First of all, she had some great coaching growing up. She had Coach Chinapoo as a coach early on, and some other very good soccer coaches. And I think if she would have kept training as much in soccer, I think she might have had a chance. Greg and I used to go to the games when our daughters played, and it was easy to answer your first question because I loved watching them play soccer, but I knew to keep my mouth shut. I had no business saying anything coaching-wise or anything, but I loved watching them compete. So, I was happy either way. So that was fun to, it was no stress on me. But we would laugh because Marley would get about 8 shots on goal a game, and she would be lucky if she made one. So she was a great athlete for that team, and the team would set her up with some great passes. And, luckily during the playoff run, I believe it was, she finally started getting some in the goal. But she was, she was a great athlete. But to answer your point, your first question, I enjoyed watching soccer, believe it or not, more than basketball, because I loved watching them compete and being able to sit back and not know anything about what I was talking about other than, run and hustle. I believe it was, who was it? They had a coach early on. I can't believe I can't remember his name, Coach Chinapoo. But he had a beginning of the year meeting. They might have been about 12 or 13 years old, maybe 12. And he said, parents, I have rules for you too. All you're allowed to say is hustle and build. So I knew to keep my mouth shut. That's all I was capable of saying. And I used them 2 words up through high school.
So, Greg, let's kind of transition over a little bit to maybe, I guess, the point of why we're here together, and that's preparing a kid. Okay, a youth usually, let's talk about when they come in, they're usually 6 to 8 years old, and then you have them for a while, and then they enter high school at maybe 14. They're freshmen at 14. Talk about some of those players, and I do a little bit of training, and I helped one of the local coaches with his camp the last couple of years, so I get a chance to see some of these kids, and it's really hard not to guess, to try in your own mind to go, she's going to make it, or she doesn't have a chance. Or are there any of those players that you think, oh my gosh, there's nothing here. There's nothing here at all. And next thing you know, 5 years later, they're contributing at the highest level. What's that like?
Yeah. Somebody said one time that if, the best player on the 4th grade team typically doesn't end up being the best player on the 10th grade team. But Joe, when we talked about the panel, I think I was one of your first calls, and these 3 gentlemen were obvious choices, and I've had the privilege of getting to know each of them closely. They've all coached my kids, which I feel so blessed, and they all have something in common. And it starts at that youngest age. The kids respond, and they respond because there's a tremendous amount of respect for the knowledge of the sport. So we were joking earlier, the amount of hours that Coach Corey, Coach Archie, and Coach Richard put into their craft as athletes, it comes out in how they coach. But that's not it. You have to have the ability to communicate with a kindergartner and a 7th grader, a boy or a girl. And I've seen too many coaches that might have the knowledge, but just cannot communicate at that level. And these 3 guys, they all have very different styles, but the thing that's consistent is the kid is challenged, they leave with confidence, and then most importantly, they can't wait to come back.
Wow, that's a big deal.
And I have to tell you, there is a link, and Richard probably remembers this. I cut my teeth in coaching. Richard was kind enough. He was running the soccer club way back, and my daughters were, kindergarten and 1st grade, and that was about the level that I knew just enough to coach soccer. And so he let me coach. And one of my first teams, I had his daughter, and he never thanked me for that kindergarten year for setting her off to become the great player she is today.
But it's never too late. Thank you, Greg.
Greg, he kept that to himself all these years. He had to know that.
I've told you the story, Joe. I look back at those teams, and there was that, the graduating class from anywhere from, 22, which was Corey and my oldest, and then 23, 24, which was Richard's granddaughter and daughter. And I remember them when they were small, and Richard coached them. If I coached, I was always an assistant coach. And I remember joking with parents that this is our future Olympic team. And I said that because of all the things Richard said. There was talent there, of course, but there was parents that understood. They were bought in. There was the right coaches, and the kids were having a great time playing a great sport. And they haven't made the Olympics yet, but the way that story goes is they've had quite a run. A lot of them went to the same high school. And of course, a couple district championships and then a state championship. And I've had a front row seat, certainly a sideline seat, but a front row seat of watching that development. And there's so many stories like that in the community. We all probably have them, but that's one of my favorite ones where if you get these young ladies and young men around the right people, around the right coaches, and they stay with it and they play together, and then the new coaches take over and they have the same philosophy. And oh, by the way, I think Richard jumped on that high school staff. That didn't hurt either. But what an unbelievable story, and really fun to watch.
Thank you, Greg. Archie Smith. What about making a connection kind of outside of the sport? You know, just getting to know the kid, you know, the boy, the girl. Maybe that kid needs a mentor in his or her life. What's that like for you to have that opportunity?
I think that was one of my biggest strengths. Growing up, I mean, I know you guys know that we always had that coach that we knew loved us, no matter how hard they was on us, no matter how hard they pushed us. We knew behind that it was genuine love. That's what the players like this generation knows now. Like a coach that really cares for me, a guy that really cares for me. Like, you know what, this man, he pushes me, he does this, but he genuinely cares. I think that is something that is leaving the coaching game now, is the genuineness and the genuine love coming from the coach or the trainer. And now these kids can really sense that. Like, that's what's really great about this generation, is they can sense when a coach or a trainer really cares for them. One thing that I get is a lot of texts. When you get a lot of texts, thank you for this, man. I didn't know. Like for me, I just reached out to my 8th grade coach, I think 5 years ago. So I was 37, and he coached me in 1994.
You made his day, that's for sure.
I reached out 25 years later.
Wow.
To tell him that I thanked him for what he really did. I didn't get it then. I didn't get it as a 12 or a 13-year-old kid, but I got it at 37. So with all these guys right here, like Coach Chinapoo, man, I see him outside, not just coaching his kid, but he's still giving back. He's still pulling up. When I come out of the gym, he's pulling up, unloading soccer balls, you know what I mean? Still giving back to the multitude of the community. Same way with Greg, same way with Corey. And whether or not everybody knows this, but it's always one or two set of eyes that really sit back and see that. And man, maybe 25 years later, one of these kids might reach out to us.
Right. Thank you. And I want to mention too that you've been involved over the years. There's a daycare out at Advanced Tubes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has nothing to do. It's a bunch of really young kids, like toddlers, and I saw you out there one time. You had like one kid hanging off of each leg and another kid you were holding. And I thought, man, this guy is very well-rounded. He's like a daycare teacher too. But the point is, they loved you, Coach Archie. They loved you, and you looked like you were really enjoying it. You were dragging them across the gym, and so you really like the kids, no matter if there's a ball in their hand or not, right?
Oh yeah, I deal with 200 plus kids a day and during summer camp,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them come from all different homes, all different schools. So for me to get in there, I like to know everything about them. Like, I know their first and last name. I try to get to know their middle name. I try to learn every car that comes up to drop them off, so I can say something to their parents, because a lot of kids, some kids that in these summer camps never put or did any sports, and then in the 7th and 8th grade, I see them playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when they didn't even think about playing because they was worried about the Nintendo Switch back then.
Right.
But I see how it came around full circle, man. So when those type of things come, man, that blesses my heart.
Right. Coach Chinapoo, when I was growing up, and I'm probably the oldest guy in the whole well, no, you and I are pretty close, but so you'll remember this era that I'm talking about.
Okay.
We kind of played sports. I mean, yeah, the ultimate goal was to maybe play in college, and you played at a much, much higher level than I did. But we kind of played sports more for fun, you know. But now it kind of gets the rubber meets the road early on. And how important is it that the kids learn how to have fun too? I mean, I'm sure that the ultimate goal is you want to get a kid into an academy if you can. I think your daughter and granddaughter both had opportunities to go different places. Probably their choices of are they called academies?
Yeah, there's academies, there's clubs.
clubs, academies. See, I don't know the
Clubs,
difference
academies,
between the two.
There's a lot of different options now.
The academy kind of pulls them away from their high school, right?
Yeah, it depends on the academy. There's some academies that let you play in high school now because they understand the value of the kid playing for their high school. But
do you know how worried we all were that your granddaughter wasn't going to come back to Central Dauphin for her senior year? I mean, the whole community just froze until we found out.
So that's kind of like an example of what you kind of the kind of path you're going down here is like, who really wants the child to get into the academies and at what age? So it goes back to, like Archie was saying, it has to be fun, and Greg was saying it has to be fun because that's why we played. Right. We would come home, drop the books, get out in the neighborhood and go play with your friends. Right. You didn't need a coach. So for me, and I think for all these guys, it's really about the kid having fun. And as Greg said, that I want, when I run my sessions, I want my players not to miss my session. They want to come to my session. They want to be excited to be there because it is fun and they learn something. So that whole process of identifying when that child has the talent and has the potential, that takes time. That takes time and guidance from whoever is coaching you in whatever sport it is. And it takes a lot of, I shouldn't say it takes a lot, that parent has to be open to trusting the coach and the advice of the coach. Right. There are some players, like Greg said, I can have a stud at U10, and then at U12, the other players have caught up, and that person hasn't really advanced, and that could be for different things: growth, home environment, attitude. There's so many things involved in it. So really, for me, the bottom line is whoever I touch, and you can talk to Marley about this, and you can talk to your daughters, Greg. Whoever I touch, whoever I guide or I coach, and I can say this now because I'm at your age, and I do this because I enjoy it, and they have to have fun. They have to enjoy what they do, but understand at different levels what work needs to go into it.
Right. Well, we're so glad that we have you. I mean, you didn't coach any of my kids, but just as a member of the community that is a fan of and a supporter of all your kids, I've just been glad to kind of watch you, and you do it all kind of stealthily. Is that the word? Without fanfare, and just for the love of the game and the love of the kids. And I just love your style, and I love what you've contributed and added to these kids' lives.
Those kids have been fantastic, amazing kids.
Joe, I think in communities like ours, we're very blessed to have, in most sports, different levels for the kids to play. Not only different training class levels, but everything from rec to school ball to club travel. On the basketball side, it's AAU, which is your academy version. And I got to tell you, as a parent, I've been doing this forever. It took a while to understand the levels and where to put your kid and navigate it. So I think parents can always learn more. But in communities like ours, I think we're very blessed to have these different levels. And all four of my kids played at different levels, but there was opportunities for each of them. You just have to be able to navigate it and make the commitment as a parent. And I think that's really important in a community, because, and I'm so biased, I think there's so many positive things that these kids could be doing. For me, it's just sports is just what I know.
Right.
And, fortunately my wife agreed. And so we said, we don't care what sport it is, but our kids are going to be involved somehow. And we think it teaches them so many things. As you know, the company I work for during the day, we're the largest enterprise rent-a-car, is the largest recruiter of college graduates in the country. And we look at not the GPA, but what did you do in college? And if you played a sport and were a captain of the sport, we actually want to talk to you probably more than others. So there's all these reasons to get your kids in sports, and the fact that, and I think all four of us have coached kids at all levels, right? So there's a place for a introductory player that, Corey, we brought one into Corey's class the other day, and he was teaching the young man how to dribble, and the kid next to him, I think, could dunk. So there, we do it all, and there's places for all of them.
Thanks, Greg. And Corey, Coach Dickerson, it's more than just the physical part, the picking up the we talk about training, and that usually is, going through drills and learning to shoot and learn. It's truly mind, body, and soul, though, right? Preparing to play a sport. I know if you're trying to prepare yourself in life, period, you're just your overall self. You look at the mind part, the body part, and the spirit part. But athletics are not different than that, correct?
Not at all. Not actually. That's the big part for me. I think.
Talk about the road. I don't mean to interrupt you. I want you to talk about. You're the owner operator of the Road College Prep Academy.
Yes.
What is the road, and how do you fit into the road? You have a full-time job. You have 4 kids, a wife at home, so you have a lot going on. But I know you're very committed to the road.
I am, and it was easy. It was simple. Well, first of all, the road is a training. It's a training academy here in central Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg. We're on Lingostown Road, and the road started well before the road, and all these guys have been an integral part in that. I've owned CrossFit gyms, since I became, since I moved to Harrisburg, since I became a professional outside of basketball, because I needed something that was missing after playing sports, and that was the competition, accountability, striving for something, that mental competition as well every day, that adversity every day that you need to keep feeling like, for me as an athlete, I know Archie, I know you're alive. That's why they get out there and they train people every day. It is a way of life that we fell into, and we noticed the reward that we got out of it. So, I got into coaching CrossFit, but really my passion was always basketball. That's what I grew up playing. These guys were part of the road, training my kids growing up in soccer or agility, Archie was, or in basketball. And I always, for my kids, I always had them in the gym with me, doing the strength and conditioning piece. Why it was big, especially a lot of our movement, we're all talking about our granddaughters and daughters. It really started around, female youth sports, which is very big and very good here in central Pennsylvania. A big part of that, is a lot of these girls that we talked about, they worked on strength and conditioning. That was great. And it helped them, their bodies physically get stronger, and it kept them away from injuries that come from overuse. That's a big part of what we do here in the road in our strength and conditioning piece. But a very huge part of it is the mental toughness side, right? Teaching them to be strong, mentally as well, being able to deal with adversity or whatever life may throw at you. Being able to, get hit and keep on moving, and feel good about themselves, right? Feel confident about themselves, feel strong, whatever, anytime they walk into a new room, they can be confident and strong with, in regards to how they feel about themselves. That is a big part of what we do here. That is the soul part, that is the mind part. And you'd be amazed what a few squats, deadlifts, burpees can do, for your mental toughness.
I think the soul part has to do with the interaction you talked about too. Showing up and looking forward to seeing that same guy or that same gal. You might not see them in between, but every Sunday morning or every Thursday night, I'm going to see Julie or I'm going to see Bob. That's food for the soul there. Being able to just connect with another human being on a regular basis.
And they're connecting with the coach, right? The same way they connected with us on, whatever sport, but they're connecting with that athlete that's there with them. It's a healthy competition, right? And that's what we grew up on. We went outside. We didn't need a coach. We didn't need a trainer. Your boy beat you the day before, and whatever y'all were doing, it could have been freeze tag, right? I'm gonna beat them today, right?
I haven't heard freeze tag in a while.
Well, my point, it didn't even matter if it was a sport, right, Joe? Like,
Right.
I'm
No, it didn't matter.
right? And it was a healthy competition, right? And everybody got better. Unfortunately, in this day and age, it's different, and we, for whatever reason, we have to manufacture those settings, right? And that is what we do here, and we just make, here's the thing: we have a lot of kids that come through the road because it's not just for the forms. I partner with some of the best basketball trainers in this area. And in doing that, we've set up an academy where there's now an organized playing, right? And you're working on your ball handling, your shooting, your strength and conditioning, your IQ, your mental side of it. So in doing that, we've manufactured this setting that we used to have organically, right? It's no longer organic. And yes, you will become a better basketball player. You will become a better athlete. You may end up playing college sports. But if you don't, you still have those qualities that enterprise will look for, right? You learned how to compete. You learned how to deal with adversity. You've learned how to work well in group settings and team environments. Before you know it, some of these kids, they leave here, they may make it their 4 years in college, they may not. But guess what they end up doing? They still come home and train. They still come home and connect to the community. Mm-hmm. They end up being coaches for, Castor or with Coach Chinapoo or assistants for Archie or I. And, we have them now being their assistants for Team PA, AAU, right? It's so much bigger than the sport itself. And that comes back to what these guys have been saying, the fun part of it. And all this, the life lessons that you get out of pushing yourself to be better. There's nothing wrong. It's not a failure if you push yourself to be better and you reach a peak that, as far as you can go. That's as far as you go. There's no failure in that.
No, not at all. Thank you. Greg, talk a little bit about Cavoli Barn, okay? And I'm just going to kind of set the stage. Cavoli Barn is a gymnasium that's in your backyard. To me, it's part of your house, really. There's a little bit of space in between the house and the gym, but and it's a real gym. It's got locker rooms and a cafe, and I think are you in the barn there?
I am.
Yeah. I thought, you have the weight room behind you there, right?
Yep.
I thought so. It's impressive. It's really, really cool. But besides that, man, I've been up there probably 4 times now where you've had just maybe 100 people in there, and you open your doors and you invite people in from the Harrisburg area, from outside of the Harrisburg area, people that you've never known before, and you feed them and you feed their kids. And you and your wife, Andrea, you do it with a smile on your face. It just really looks to me like it brings you joy to be able to have built that barn, the gymnasium, and use it the way that you've ended up doing.
Well, I appreciate that, Joe. The idea of the barn was born when I was a youngster, and my old man put a court up in our backyard. It's actually a tennis court, and we didn't like tennis so much, so we put basketball hoops up on it, and it was the place to hang out. And so that's where I fell in love with the sport. That's where I spent my 10,000 hours, a year growing up. And I always wanted to have that, not just for my kids, my family, myself, but for anyone that wanted to come play. And when you're building something like this, you second guess it, of course, all along the way. You get your wife's buy-in, which I was blessed to get. I built it 6 years ago. I look back and if anything, I wish I built 2. It's been it's been awesome. So Corey and I and Archie's been up. We've spent a ton of time coaching first our kids in the barn, and then it's extended to a lot of the other teams we coach. So it's nice having. I'm never late to practice. I walk next door, and then we do some events. And one's coming up. We do Battle in the Barn every year, and that's we're on year 5, and that is the top middle school and high school girls in central Pennsylvania basketball against the top in Philly. And we've got a great connection in Philly that somehow manages to find the absolute best players. And you've been there broadcasting at Lingelstown.
You had 2 8th graders last year that played in Delaware. were two of the better players in the whole day during the whole day.
Well, I think we're fortunate. One's not coming because I think she already got an offer to South Carolina. So
what a relief!
Tell you how good she was. Yeah.
Oh my, yeah. So and you know, it's part of your home though, and so when I see you inviting people into the barn or your gymnasium, to me, you're bringing them into your home, and there's just a lot of smiles those days. Everybody's having fun. Their new friends are being established, and so my hat's off to you and your wife and your kids, because your kids have taken over the roles as hosts. You know, they see how mom and dad do it, and now they host as well. So I really appreciate everything you do there. Who here has coached? Let me move on to Coach Chinapoo again. I think the one thing, Coach Chinapoo, and we just got done talking a little bit about the mind part, you know, the kind of the psychological part. And one of the better stories, I've been around high school sports, you know, not forever and ever, but very intimately. I've met a lot of kids and watched a lot of big games, a lot of big situations. And one of my favorite stories is Sammy Widnick. As a junior, she just graduated and she's off to Drexel, but she was a starting goalkeeper as a junior. You guys had a really good season. And just kind of to cut to the chase, she gave up a goal in double overtime against Manheim Township in the district championship game. And I played goalie in hockey. And I know when you're the goalkeeper, you take the blame for everything. Even if somebody says, your defense let you down, or they let them get by them, or and I knew Sammy pretty well. And I asked her, you know, I kind of gave her like an elbow to the, shake it off. You still have the state tournament. She told me that her mother told her you have, I think it was 24 hours or maybe 48 hours to be upset. You can be down for just a little bit and then you have to get over it. What did you think of that whole situation that, you know, she gives up that big goal and I'm not even blaming it on her, but the goal went by her. Next thing you know, a couple of weeks later, she's a state champion.
Well, first, I appreciate the barn. I've been there a few times. That's
it's
one.
right, you have. Yeah.
And Corey, you need to let me know if you have a program for guys a certain age. Because I need to start working out. But anyway, you know, soccer, like most sports, it's a team sport. Mm-hmm. And you know, being with Sam or any other player throughout the season, you know, whether it starts in preseason. So one of the roles being an assistant coach is really how I saw it was I kind of keep an eye on the players and kind of make sure they're in the right framework. Mentally, physically, I can tell if you have an injury, I can tell if you're distracted. And my focus was really to go to that athlete. You know, let's say it's Archie, and Archie, are you good today? And Archie might respond, and I can see if Archie is good or he's not good, or, you know, is something bothering you? So I kind of kept an eye on the players. Sam did come up with her own situation, as you said. You know, her mom told her 24 hours to deal with it and move on. On the positive side, we played, I think, on Saturday. We had Sunday off. We practiced on Monday to play the first State Cup game on Tuesday. So the fact that we had to refocus that quickly helped her.
Right.
And helped everybody else. We were disappointed, but that's done. That's over.
Right.
It's finished. And we needed to focus. And I think we went on, and I think we played Central York, possibly. Who unfortunately we played them twice in 2 years. And I mean, they got their frustration out on Central York.
Right.
So, but the point is really, as an athlete, you deal with failure. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with failure? And unfortunately, we have to fail before we succeed.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, nobody's born successful, right?
Some people would argue that. But yeah, that was we used it. We all used it. 24 hours, be done with it. It's behind you. And the leaders led. The captains were like, here, let's go. Let's go. You had a senior group that just wanted to go on, and the whole team was on it, and we shake it off and we go. That's all you can do. Get ready for tomorrow.
You beat Central York, and then I guess North Allegheny, Owen J. Roberts, and Pencrest, and then you got a piece of hardware to bring back to the school, right?
Those were memorable games.
Oh my God!
That could have gone either way, and it's just the resilience from that experience, and it comes from. So when you train an athlete, it's you, the athlete, and the parents, right? So I give Corey a lot of credit for watching Marley and not saying too much, and Greg does a very good job with that. All right, even though we have discussions after the games in terms of what he saw and I saw. So it's that triangle. If you don't have the parents supporting what you do, then there's a little friction. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my work is also involving the parents. The parents has to trust the coach. So that's kind of how that unfolded. But yeah, I enjoyed that. That was it was tense, but I was calm.
Yeah, we were calm.
I think.
Probably more calm than the rest of us.
I had to show the calmness.
I'm officially I'm a member of the media, so I'm not supposed to root or I'm not supposed to take sides.
Right.
But that was I don't do that too well. Yeah, I really don't. Coach Smith, Coach Chinapoo just mentioned about the parents, and it's perfectly put. It's like a triangle. You have the athlete or the student, the kid, the parent, and the coach. And I know that you have I know the parents love you, but do you ever have parents that they kind of don't get it? They think their kid's the next Deion Sanders, or they want them to be starting or playing point guard or quarterback, and it's just not there. How do you deal with that scenario?
Man, I just took it to the heart to man, my motto is I'm undefeated against parents.
You're good. Tell the rest of them how that works.
Yeah, and when you have those parents, it either goes two ways. Either they're going to understand what you're saying, or they're not going to understand what you're saying. And the ones that don't understand what you're saying, you don't see them again until a couple of years later, and they be like, I know what you were saying. But you don't turn your back on them. You welcome them right back in and be like, hey, this is what we was trying to walk you through. So I'm very unconfrontational. And every day I just try to break it down as simple as I can. And they know it's coming with love, and they know it's coming with passion. So I don't really have time to sit up and go back and forth with any of that type of stuff, man. It's either you're all in for your kid, or you're all in for something else. Because if you're in it for your kid, then you're going to do what's best for your kid, and you're going to understand the guidance that you need to help your kid get to the level that you're trying to help them get to. Anytime you have any personal things trying to intrude that, then it don't equal out as it's supposed to. So I don't do the parent thing.
Yeah, you don't want to have a resentment for a kid's parents and carry that into your interaction with the kid. That's for sure, because it's not the kid's fault if the parent. Let's just say if the parent's not really correct in some cases. So Coach Dickerson, or let's just throw this out there. Who coached Leah McGarvey when she was young?
Yeah, and Coach Corey and I.
If you notice, I try not to throw names out, but I'm going to throw Leah's name out because what a story she is, or she was. From when she was. I was just at the camp a month ago, and again I said I was coaching the younger kids, and I was trying to figure out who looked good, who looked like they could be ready in a few years, and I was reminded that I could be totally wrong, because there was a girl named Leah McGarvey, and when she was like 8, 9, 10 years old, she wasn't good at all, right? But she kept showing up. What happened to Leah? I mean, did she just love the sport and she just committed to it? Because next thing you know, she's starting at Central Dauphin, which is a top, 5, 6, 8 program in the state for sure. They finished in the top 4 the last 2 of the last 3 years, and she contributed at a high level. What did Leah do to improve herself?
I think Leah's a great story, and we all have kids like this that have come up through our programs. And actually, Leah did not make the Team PA team as an 8th grader, and there was another opportunity for her, and we had the appropriate conversation with her about, this is your level, keep working, and here's how you get to the other level. Her parents supported that. They've always been extremely supportive. And then from there, Leah becomes a kid that just falls in love with work, right? And so if we had 3 training sessions a week and one was optional, she was always there. And you just saw her progression accelerate. And she was way behind the other girls as an 8th grader. And by the time she reached 10th grade, she not only was on our top team, but I'm thinking of the home stretch, Corey, when we're playing in front of college coaches in July of her junior year. She's starting and helping carry the team. And I think all of us have a fabric in us of coaching, toughness. And I can speak to Archie and Corey. I know if a kid has gone through Archie and Corey and their culture and program, because they're just tough. They're tough on the defensive end of the floor. Heck, Archie's the master of defense on football and basketball. And I think what we teach the kids is, shooting the ball from Steph Curry range is sexy, and being able to dribble the ball between your legs. But if you can play defense on the basketball court, there's a place for you. And that was Leah, right? And so
Leah played defense, that's for sure.
She would come from Corey's CrossFit class, get more athletic. She would jump into the basketball training, be behind on the offensive end, but be one of the standouts on the defensive end. And she's found a great place. She's playing up at Gordon College in Massachusetts, and I think she found a great fit there. So great story.
Yeah, that is a great story. Yeah, I just loved watching her kind of just morph into what she became, and to contribute at that level. And they were just a very successful team last year, and she was a big part of it. What about kids who can't afford training, can't afford AAU, can't afford the Sunday afternoon training sessions at Archie that you're involved in? When I was growing up, you paid $8. Your mom bought you a glove. I'm talking about baseball here. But basketball was probably the same way, $8, $10, $15. And things aren't that way anymore. Is there a kind of what path do you go down with the kids that can't afford to train?
Joe, I could speak. Greg's not going to say it. I know for the road, I partnered with some guys here that were very like-minded in that way. And whether it's, Liam, whoever, whatever level you want, the kid comes in the door, we really don't turn kids away.
Correct.
I was, especially where I grew up in North Philly. We went to the POW every day. That's where I learned how to play. It costs nothing to go into the POW and the Police Athletic League, if people don't know what that means. And the reason why we were there is because if we weren't, whether we were good or not, we weren't out there on the street. You weren't getting into any trouble. Idle time is the concern with all these kids, especially now. So if a kid is trying to come in the door, whether they can dribble the ball or not, if they want to work hard and get better, and follow instructions and learn accountability and get all of those things, we don't close the door to them. And I can tell you, my partners at the road feel the same way. I know how Archie is. He feels the same way. He grew up the same way. And then Greg has really, morphed Team PA into that. I think the product on the court shows that, and not just in wins and losses, but just the different demographics that step on the court together in a Team PA uniform. We have kids from Philly, Palmyra, Harrisburg City,
Coal
anywhere,
region,
right? The coal region, think about it. Some Jersey Shore, we have kids all stepping on the court together.
right?
No matter what how much money their parents make or how much money their parents are able to pay. We take a trip every year. Lob periods. Unfortunately, our lob periods take us. This year it was Louisville, Ohio, Louisville, 9 days of basketball in 11 days. And I know a guy who works with this big company and they rent us vans. And, we take 15 passenger vans, parents can't leave work or whatever the case. We throw them in the van with us. We take them to, Airbnbs or, hotels. We make sure that everybody gets there safe without worry of, the financial costs. And all these kids get an opportunity to play in front of coaches. And, the parents do help. They do their best, right? And we make sure, Greg makes sure that, we don't make it to where a kid can't go. And that's on the girls' side and the boys' side.
Right. Well, there's a lot less of a presence in this area. You mentioned the Police Athletic League. I grew up in Harrisburg, and we had a stronger Police Athletic League presence. Boys and Girls Club, much stronger presence. People my age, they could name drop the guys that had the keys and would show up every day after you get off school and they'd get off work. And, Mr. So-and-so impacted my life, as much as I didn't have a father growing up, but I had Mr. So-and-so. And that's kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of dried up a little bit, at least in Harrisburg, in the city. It doesn't exist to the same degree as it once did.
Unfortunately, and that is probably a story for another day or a topic for another day, but it's not just Harrisburg. Philadelphia like that. Philadelphia Public League is how we competed, not just school ball, it's how we competed against the best in the city. We all knew each other by the time we played each other in high school. We all knew each other, by the time we started to travel in AAU, because you played against each other in the POW league, right? Every neighborhood played every neighborhood, and that was from, fourth grade on. But you had a place to go after school where your parent didn't have to worry about you. You weren't out outside. It didn't cost to go, and unfortunately, somewhere that got lost. And I don't think the people who were in there, those people that we remember changing our lives, I don't think they went away. I think the people who had the ability to open those doors, open those centers, unfortunately, they became less important. Those centers did. Maybe we'll get back to it. We definitely need it. It's no surprise that we see the issues that we have with the youth now. It's idle time, right? Idle time, and nobody's showing that care that Archie was talking about, where you can reach back out to them 25 years later because they don't have the opportunity.
Yeah.
Joe,
go ahead, Greg.
Just a comment on the expense of kids' sports. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast. It's expensive, and the higher level you play, the more expensive it is. But I agree with what Corey said. I have to give credit to our community and our community of coaches. And we have a motto with what we do at the road and with Team PAs that we're never going to turn a kid down because of their situation or their money. And it's never the kid's fault, right? And that's only possible because we have a community of coaches that care. And I don't, maybe we should, but we don't have a formal way of, here's our scholarship program. Those situations find us through our coaches. I mean, Archie's called me before and said, hey, Greg, we got to take care of this kid. No problem. I'm going to name drop some big community players that they'll call me and I trust them and they don't call me unless they have to. Say, Greg, we need help on this one. Lloyd Hill, who runs our boys side. Dwan Lee, Dwan, he's a fixture in the community. Ronnie Daniels, Andre Cooper. These guys they live in the community. They've been around, and they're not going to leave a kid behind. And I just know from knowing these three guys that are on this podcast, how many times we've had conversations at kitchen tables, how many kids we've brought home from practice. I mean, there's been kids we've had that I never met their parents because Corey's always the one picking them up to practice and bringing them to the barn.
Right.
And they don't get paid for that, right? But that's what I love about this community. It's a small enough community where we know, And I think I know just enough about Casa. I know the Casa soccer, that was such an unbelievable program for my family. And I know all families are invited to play there.
Are you still involved in Casa at all, Coach Chinapoo?
Yes. My title now is I'm an advisor.
Yeah, you were like the general manager, right? The director. Or...
He was the man.
Yeah. When I came back in 2017, because I left in 2014, I wore the hat of general manager, but gradually kind of moved on from that. Younger people, young ideas, a change. But as Greg was saying and Corey was saying, CASA has been around for close to 27 years, and there are programs that we have in place where, we don't turn people away either based on finances. There's Circle of Friends. That's a scholarship that we give to the travel players, and there's opportunities within the club. So we don't turn kids away.
Greg, I would be remiss if I didn't. I know the answer to this question, but what is Team PA AAU basketball? You are, first of all, you're one of our platinum sponsors, and we really appreciate your support over the years. But that's not why I'm bringing it up. I want to bring it up because you're the owner and the president at Team PA, and tell the folks a little bit about what you do there.
All you need to know is we sponsor the best high school sports program in town, Lingostown Gazette. Come on.
There we go. Well, besides that.
Yeah. Team PA, actually, Archie has a deeper history with Team PA than I do. Charlie Fortney and Archie and Taylor Dippery ran Team PA, formerly called Advanced Hoops, as one of the area's first and largest AAU basketball programs. AAU is Amateur Athletic Union, so it's the club version of soccer or the academy version. And we've grown it to we'll do about 40 to 45 teams throughout the year on both the boys and girls side, ages 4th grade through 11th grade. It's very competitive. So one of the distinctions from AAU and a traditional basketball travel, or certainly a rec program and even high school, is it brings the absolute top kids together. So, Corey coached our top high school team this year on the girls' side, and it was probably each one of their players was the best player on their high school team, for example. Mm-hmm. It's tournament based, so it takes us to different parts of the East Coast. And it is for a kid, not all, but it is for a kid that aspires to play at the next level. And a big part of what Team Pennsylvania does is we try to make that marriage and make that connection. It's a big part of what Corey does. Among many titles, he's our college recruitment developer, college placement director. And we have Corey's team, for example, they're 11th grade girls. He's got 100% success rate this year of getting college offers to those young ladies. And several of them won't have to pay for college because they'll be on scholarship. So
that's incredible.
Really, really neat when you can, especially when you make a marriage there, that kid might not be going to college if it wasn't for the sport. So it's been a blessing to be part of where, like Richard and Casa, we're part of 300 to 400 different families in the community. And really it's extended to all over the state now. And wouldn't be here if it wasn't for coaches like Archie, he still gets invited to run tryouts. There's the self-proclaimed best trainer to run a tryout is Corey Dickerson until we had Archie come in. You put Archie in front of 50 crazy boys and girls, and it's just sad to watch.
Coach Dickerson, second place isn't that bad when you're second to Corey. When you're second to Archie, right? I had the pleasure for a few years. I was a trainer and I coached for Advanced Hoops. And the first time I walked into a gym and saw Coach Archie Smith in action, I was like, who is this guy? Because he just beamed with positivity, man. I wanted to get up there next to him. I wanted to meet him. I wanted to introduce myself. And it's just a situation where you kind of probably wish you had more Archie Smith Juniors, right?
No question.
Archie, who were your role models growing up?
Definitely my dad, my grandfather. I'm from a rural town in Alabama called Phoenix City, a town called Crawford. Like you guys have townships, that we have towns. I grew up on at least 100+ acres, cotton fields around. We had over 300 hogs. We had everything.
Your family did.
Yes, yes. And I used to have to tend to them. So anytime, we had gardens, so we had the regular gardens in the fields, and then we had our gardens by the house. And if anybody ever had hogs, you had the little piglets, and they were so quick and so fast. They looked so cute, but they so bad. So they root up under the fence, and then they get in the garden. So before school, I'm thinking I'm getting freshly dressed for school, and the little pigs are eating everything in the garden. So I used to have to go out there and get them out of the garden. But while that was happening, the bus used to pull up. And all the kids used to be laughing like, ah, ha, 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 ha. And I used to have to change into other clothes, and I couldn't get on the bus. I used to have to get all the little piglets up, get them back to where they need to be, and then I would get dressed and go to school. And I used to always think that I was gonna get teased. Well, I did get teased. There's a pig boy this, pig boy that. And my daddy just used to say, man, I bet you they don't have a work ethic like you do at a young age.
Right.
And one thing that I did have from working hard like that, I had a 4-wheeler, a go-kart, and you guys used to know it used to be the 12-speed bikes back in the days. Mm-hmm. So when I used to ride the bus home, my daddy used to park my 4-wheeler, go-kart, and the 12-speed bike right in front of the yard. So when the bus brought me home, that's where I used to get off, and all the kids just used to be looking like, wow. But we got that off of nothing but hard work. So only thing I always knew was nothing but hard work, man. So like my father and them and my grandfather and them and my mom and them, man, that's all I ever knew. I didn't I looked at the sports and stuff like that. That was just entertaining, but work ethic, passion, and hard work, that come from my mom and dad.
Boy, am I so glad I asked that question. That was great. I didn't know that about you. And that's why we're here, to learn a little bit more about each other. And I was just thinking how diverse all of our backgrounds are. You got Corey from the Philadelphia City. You got Archie Smith with the piglets in the cotton field. You got Coach Chinapoo from a different country, Trinidad and Tobago. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then Greg, you and I are probably just suburban guys, right? Am I accurate there?
Maybe more farm than suburban for me.
Okay.
I didn't have piglets though.
Okay, so and I'm more suburban, so we have 5 different backgrounds here. Anybody want to do a shout out before we start wrapping this up? Anybody maybe watching it? I hope somebody's watching it home somewhere. I want to wish. I'm going to see probably your daughter this year, Corey, your younger daughter, but I want to wish Lauren well, Greg, in college.
Thank
Lauren
you.
Cavoli. You try not to play favorites when you do what I do, but Lauren's one of my favorite athletes I've ever covered. And I had a chance to watch her be on that soccer field for the last, 10 minutes? I mean, she was kind of like the next player in on the state championship soccer field. Her team needed her. She went in. She was involved in the end of the game to a high degree, and she helped close out the game. And I'm also friends with Shane Griffiths, and his daughter Jordan had the opportunity to kind of do the same thing. And that part of the joy that I felt that night was to watch Lauren Cavoli and Jordan Griffiths be on that field, and then Lauren work so hard and just be one of the best players in the area. I mean, Corey has so much confidence, and he's his kid's, or Greg, you too, Corey, but I'm talking about Greg here now. You're your kid's biggest fan. I know that. And you've always said, watch out for this Lauren Cavoli girl, man. She's really, really good. And I kind of believed you, but I didn't. I'm just going to be honest here. I didn't really totally grasp what you were saying until this last year in basketball. And she was so good. And I think she caught so many people off guard. And physically, she's not real big.
Right.
But she doesn't allow that to be part of her story. You know what I mean? She's tougher. She's more physical. She's more aggressive. She plays really good defense, a really good shooter. And so anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, but, hats off to Lauren Cavoli and her career in 2 sports at Central Dauphin. And we wish her well moving on to the next level, Greg.
I appreciate all that, Joe. She's my favorite too. So
is she really?
Oh,
other kids aren't. So
oh boy.
How can Lauren not be your favorite?
Oh man.
So here's a Lauren story. So she comes home. Boy, this was middle school or before middle school, and I'll keep the names out. And she was left off the team by the coach, quote, because she's too small. And so that was a hard one, right? A hard one for her, a hard one for mom and dad, who have told her up to this point in her life, we knew she was never going to be big, that it's okay, you could be small. Well, it was that could have went one of 2 paths, and I'm happy being a youngest daughter anyway. She chose the path of not letting that stop her. And today, she is the only player I think that Corey has ever coached that calls him Corey, not Coach Corey, not Mr. Dickerson.
Not Mr. Dickerson.
Corey.
Yeah.
And it upsets him, it frustrates him, but he can't match wits with that one. Richard knows. Richard's been around her. She's too tough.
Lauren is, for how small she is in stature, she's one big muscle, though. I mean, she's a strong girl. There's no doubt about that.
Mike, if I could do a shout out, Joe, first, big thanks to not just you for today, but Lingostown Gazette brings beloved kids playing sports to people that maybe can't make the game. You've bailed me out. I've been able to watch and listen to one of my kids play, Arch. Yeah. And so thank you. And then big thanks to Corey, Archie, and Richard. You 3 more than anyone, but you kind of represent to me why I love this community. You've made a tremendous impact, not just on my kids, but on me. And I've had a blast being part of that with you guys. And my only hope is there's several more years of it, because I love it.
Well, I didn't strategize when I got you all together, but once I saw all your faces on the screen right before we went on, I said to myself, there's a connection here between these 4 men, whether it's they coached each other's kids or, Archie and Corey and Greg, you guys have been involved in the same program at the same time. And that's spiritual to me, that you guys have had this connection and been able to be involved in one another's lives through your kids and through other kids. So this has been a very, very enjoyable hour and 7 minutes so far. And we're gonna wrap it up with what I like to call keeping it light. And we usually only do this for the kids, but most of the adults enjoy it too. I'm going to go speed round. I'm going to give you each 2 questions. We can have this done in a couple minutes. These questions have nothing to do with the sport that you guys played or the sport that you guys coach. We're going to find out a little bit more about Coach Cavoli, Coach Chinapoo, Coach Smith, and Coach Dickerson here. Let's start with Coach Richard Chinapoo. All-time favorite movie?
All-time favorite movie?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Or a movie that you like a lot?
I like Gladiator.
Okay. That's a good one.
I just went to the movie one afternoon because it's cheaper. Plus I was bored. But
I do the same.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay, so how about Coach Smith? Favorite meal? What's your go-to meal? Let's just say mom's going to cook you something for your birthday or a friend's going to take you out. What are you getting?
Oh man, collard greens, smoked turkey necks, and roast and gravy and mashed potatoes, cornbread, and some Kool-Aid.
That doesn't surprise us.
That's about right.
Okay, Coach Corey Dickerson. Outside of sports, favorite hobby or pastime?
I'm
Do you have time for anything else?
I'm boring. It's working out.
Okay.
Or I enjoy a nice glass of bourbon.
There we go. Okay.
Earning your sunrise.
Coach Greg Cavoli. How about your all-time favorite athlete? Any sport, any level.
I mean, that's an easy one for me. Michael Jordan. And the only reason my son is named Michael John, not Michael Jordan, because my wife thought Michael Jordan Cavoli would be weird. So,
right. Well, you know why Greg just mentioned Jordan Griffiths. Yeah, she's a girl, Jordyn, but that's Michael Jordan. Tribute to Michael Jordan. Okay, let's go real quick here in the second round. Coach Richard Chinapoo. How about favorite dessert?
Cheesecake.
Okay, good. That's a good.
That was easy.
That was easy.
Especially if it's Junior's cheesecake from Brooklyn.
Oh, that's so good. I think you get that at Costco, can't you? How about Coach Archie? All-time favorite musical artist or group?
All-time favorite music artist or group?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna have to go with Cash Money, the Hot Boys.
Okay, some Southern hip hop, right?
Yeah.
All right, Coach Dickerson, favorite Girl Scout. This is called. I'm gonna ask you first. Favorite Girl Scout cookie.
Favorite Girl Scout. I don't even know the name of them, but it would be the peanut butter ones. I like peanut butter.
Okay. We call that the Coach Kirk Smallwood question because we did a full-length interview with Coach Smallwood, and it wasn't a question that we used to do on Keeping It Light. And I had an intern. Remember Danya Moore?
Mm-hmm.
She used to help us, and she was holding up behind the camera, ask him his favorite Girl Scout cookie, right? So I'm like looking at it, I'm thinking, he doesn't want this question. And I said, Coach, I got to ask you, what's your favorite Girl Scout cookie? Resoundingly and immediately he said the do-si-do. So and I wasn't even sure. I still don't know what the do-si-do is, but that's Coach Kirk Smallwood's favorite Girl Scout cookie. And Greg, I'm going to save the most difficult and most unpopular question for last here for you. Favorite book?
Oh, jeez.
Nobody likes that question.
This is a dorky answer, but it's good educational. It's a book that I give my kids as they graduate college. It's called The Wealthy Barber, and it's a financial no-nonsense book.
Good.
I recommend it highly.
Great answer. Quick on the draw there. A lot of people, they get upset with me when I ask them that question. So once again, Coach Greg Cavoli, Richard Chinapoo, Archie Smith Jr., Corey Dickerson. What a pleasure this has been. I'm sure it won't be too long until I see some of you guys out in the community. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for what your kids have done in this sports community and what all the other kids whose lives you have touched have contributed to just a wealthy, rich area for sports, for youth sports and high school sports. And the rest of us have enjoyed really watching it. So thanks again. And whatever you guys may need from Linglestown Gazette Sports, I'm always here. Okay?
Thank you, man.
Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone. Take care.
All right, fellas.
See you, fellas.
All right.